Hey everyone, welcome. Many of you know me for using Shimano brakes for the longest time. I have countless reviews and comparisons about the 2-piston brakes. You see me using the 4-piston XTs here up front or 4-piston XTs front and back on my Santa Cruz Tallboy. This year though, I decided to try something new, and from the many brakes available out there, I decided to use these. I'm talking about the Italian-made Formula brakes. Let's take a closer look at them. And believe it or not, one of the main reasons why I'm looking for new brakes is the 4-piston calipers from Shimano. I mean, 4 pistons means double the trouble. You can get sticky pistons, rubbing on your discs. It's just more complicated brake system that it has to be. So can I find a 2-piston system that gives me the same power, modulation, and trouble-free, just like the Shimano 2-piston? And in my search, I came across this article from Enduro magazine where the various brakes available to us today are compared. And in that article, you're going to see the Formula Cura 2, the 2-piston version, compared to many other 2 and 4-piston brakes, just like the XT here, even though Formula has a 4-piston version of these brakes, but I am not planning to use this. The 2-piston Cura is all I'm looking for, especially since these brakes, believe it or not, even won some downhill championships. Look at Finn Isles or Miranda Miller in Canada. So what are the details of these new brakes? On the box, you're gonna see this little label where it's gonna mention Cura and the color of the brakes. In case of the 4-piston, it's gonna mention it Cura 4. Otherwise, on the back, you're gonna have here a note telling you that these brakes use the new mineral oil. Formula actually used to use DOT in the past, not anymore. All these new brakes are using mineral oil, their own specific blend. You can find their oil and the other accessories online. I'll put some links in the description as well. You can see a bleeding kit here that is very, very similar to what SRAM uses for their brakes. Obviously, you have all the other little adapters that are needed to install your caliper. They have their own rotors, and I plan to use those. And obviously, you're gonna find both resin and sinter pads for these brakes. And because Formula knows that you're going to shorten the hose first and foremost, they are providing here in the box with an olive and insert. In that same bag, you have a couple of stickers, and you can see pretty much everything branded Formula, which is a nice touch. Here's your 2 mounting bolts for the caliper. And just like with Shimano, both the 2-piston and the 4-piston Cura use the same lever, which is actually pretty nicely sculpted. You see that master cylinder here right in the center, but nice cutouts here, I assume just to save weight or just to make them look unique. This is painted aluminum, and you can see that glossy finish. You have Cura written over here. As for the lever blade, this is made out of aluminum as well. You have a tiny reach adjustment here that's supposed to be done with your fingers. It's pretty tight right now, so you can use, I think it's a 2 or 2.5 millimeter Allen just to adjust your reach. And on the lever here, you don't have any sort of dimples or anything like that you'll find on the Shimano, but the finish is not glossy, so it should provide decent grip. Very much like SRAM, these levers are non-handed, so they're universal. You can install it on both left or right, whichever way you want it. And if you look carefully here where it says Formula Mineral Oil Only, this is a bleeding port. You do have a bleeding port on both sides. So you have one here, and you have the same bleeding port here on the other side. I assume you use whichever one comes on top once installed on your bar. Here on the inside, you're gonna see that these are made in Taiwan. Bar clamp is a 2-piece, very similar to what others use. Actually, this seems to be compatible with Magura and some Hope brakes available in the market out there. You see that little arrow showing you the up position that this should be installed in, and they call this the Mix Master system because you can get adapters for your different shifter or accessories. You can see my spec EV adapter here, and this for a 12-speed Shimano shifter. Compared to Shimano, you can see that master cylinder being a lot shorter, Otherwise, even though the lever arm or blade it's a lot longer, this might give you nice leverage when you're pulling on it. You don't have a bite point adjustment like in the Shimano XT and XTR. However, they recommend adjusting the level of fluid in the master cylinder when bleeding. Also, remember these are universal, whereas the Shimanos are handed, left or right. Calipers are made out of two pieces. You can see the bolts holding them together. That would be true for both 2-piston and the 4-piston. They have a bleeding port either at one end or here on a side in case of a 2-piston. And this is where you're going to find more information about the caliper. Interestingly, these seem to be made in Italy as opposed to the levers that were made in Taiwan. 4-piston is no different, and you can see how the connection to your hose is fixed, so there's no banjo connector over here. So this would be very similar to the Shimano Dior brakes as opposed to the SLX, XT, and XTR that allow you to change the angle at which the hose come out of the caliper. By the way, the color of these is called polished black. They also have polished silver and gold, believe it or not. Actually, I've seen the gold and they look quite amazing. Hoses for all of these are black though, and you can see formula written on the one I have here. They also have a Kevlar version of the hoses, which is a lot more expensive. And as you see here on the box, these hoses are 175 centimeters long. Again, you don't have front or rear because the levers are universal. The 2-piston Cura caliper comes with this little spacer inside. As opposed to that, the 4-piston though, this actually comes with a bleeding block. You can push this in backwards. That is your bleeding block. For the 2-piston, you would have to go for the actual bleeding block provided by the bleeding kit. You need a bleeding block that's 28 millimeter wide and 10.8, so 11 millimeters thick. Going back to the caliper, this is where they have what's called a speed lock, like a quick release type of hose. I don't have that here, but you also see that the spot where you should shorten the hose is definitely at the master cylinder, not at the caliper end. Also, it occurred to me that this little spacer provided with the 2-piston, this can be used just to push the pistons back when you're replacing the pads. To get to the pads, you're going to have to remove this threaded pin. This is a 3 millimeter Allen, but make sure you remove that tiny safety clip first. And once that's done, you just pull out the pads from the top and the 4-piston caliper. These are resin pads, original from Formula obviously, but you can go aftermarket and get more powerful pads. Trick Stuff is suggested to be one of the better ones out there. And one of the reasons why this 2-piston caliper provides you massive power, it's got to be the massive pistons. 24 millimeter pistons being used here on the 2-piston caliper versus the 4 18 millimeter tiny pistons used on the 4-piston. I don't know what they're made of, but they look black, probably very similar to what Shimano uses for something like Dior, not the ceramic white ones for SLX, XT, and XTR. Caliper shape is nicely sculpted just like Shimano's, and as far as I know, Cura doesn't provide you with any finned version of their pads. The 2-piston seems a bit bulkier than the 2-piston Shimano, but that would probably be mostly because of the 24 millimeter pistons in these Cura brakes. Weight of these brakes, it's impressive. You're looking at 266 grams for the 4-piston caliper. The 2-piston, it's about 8 grams lighter. Again, these come with the 175 meter long hose. We are talking XTR weights without the XTR price. I'm going to install the 2-piston as a replacement for my 4-piston XTs on the Santa Cruz, and I'm going to follow the very good video from Formula on how to install these brakes, how to bleed them, so I'm not going to bother you with that. With them, I'm going to use these 180 millimeter Formula discs, new design. They are made in Italy, are the usual 185 millimeter thickness, and weight 164 grams. This is not light by any means, but they are supposed to be super stiff laterally and prevent unwanted noises. So let's get them installed. T25 Torx to tighten these what it seems to be stainless steel bolts, and the usual 4 to 5 Newton meters. And I know I'm supposed to test the brakes, meaning no brakes. What can I tell you? Number one, that free stroke that on the Shimano is really free. This gives you a bit of resistance, so it just feels better. I still have a little bit of free stroke, but right about here it starts to bite, and if I push hard here I can definitely lock any one of my brakes. Brakes bedded in. You just have a really solid amount of power on both front and rear brakes. I would say very similar to the Shimano 4-pot. However, the power comes differently. You get the lever feel that's a bit more gradual. It's not as abrupt as Shimano, but otherwise, from a power standpoint, no questions asked. So it's good enough for me. Really good enough for me. When braking, the discs are giving you a very specific whoosh sound. It took a bit longer than with other brakes to bed them in, but don't despair. Do it right, and so far so good. I'm really pleased with these two piston formulas, and if you want even more stopping power, you know, you have the Cura 4 to look at. But like I mentioned, I was trying to replace 4 piston calipers with 2 piston. They're powerful enough, and so far so good. These Curas are exactly what I was looking after. What about you folks? Have you ever tried formula brakes? Do you have any questions for me? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, hope to see you folks on the trails. Why not riding some beautiful downhill? Cheers, guys. Cheers.